peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Thank you again for finding time to be with us this morning, a few minutes past 10 a.m. here in Nairobi, East African time. This is Editor's Memo, and my name is Miriam Ugutu. And on the panel this morning, we have Musa Abdi, we do have Dr. Joseph Nyanchama, we do have Samuel Tawish from Nairobi, and Musa from Isiolo, and the rest of our panelists who shall be joining us. But to lead us on this show is Dr. David Matanga. Doctor, very good morning to you, and take us through the show today.
Good morning, Miriam. Thank you very much for those good words and nice words in the morning, right in the command center, political command center of Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting all the way for Africa, with Africa, and by Africa. We defend this continent. We say what is wrong about this continent. We shall not hesitate to say it when it is necessary. This morning, the editor's memo, as Miriam has said, is straight to the point of the church and the state in the state of governance. What can the church do and what can the state do? Do they complement each other? Do they work parallel? Are they on parallel lines? It's the church of today, the church that I grew up in. In the 1950s, when I was baptized in 1956, with my first water dropping on me, I did not know much about the church. But my father and my mother brought me out in a church-going mood, that we started going to church every Sunday. That on Saturday evening, we have to iron our clothes. And I would ask my mom, why are you taking me to this church in Bududa, where the priest was one of the famous priests? Seeing a priest those days in my church was a salvation for me to go back home on days like this towards the period of Lent. We would prepare to eat that rice. The rice that is prepared on charcoal, on kuni. It is different from the rice prepared on the gas cylinders of today. In those days, rice was eaten rarely on occasions like Easter holiday or Christmas. Bread was eaten rarely. Why did people make these days very special? Because there was the church that was inspiring us, inspiring the people to go to their congregations and their church and pray. It was the church minister who could attract more people, who could give confidence, who could give encouragement at the hour of need. To their churches today, in 1980s, 1970s, 1960s, 1950s when I was born, 1970s, 60s when I grew up, we decided which school I had to go to. Whether that school had a doctrine, a religious doctrine. Most of us who grew up from the Anglican faith, we only went to schools like King's College Budo, Nabumali High School, Alliance High School in Kenya, for example, Kamusinga Girls. In Kisi, there must be a school where people went according to their faith and their Christianity and how strong they feel they should belong, how Catholicism can impact your life, and how Anglicanism can impact your life towards a human citizenry, a citizen of a country that believes that there are values. The church we have today, does it have the values? The church we have today, has it generated the values? The church we have now, does it give us hope? The church we have now, does it help the state to govern a state? The days of Pontius Pilate and Herod, the priests turned on the Messiah. They started nicknaming him, telling him names, suggesting to him to turn stones, to do the miracles, saying these are not miracles from God. The priests of the type of Bishop Ambuka turned on the state and condemned, but for not destroying Jesus. The priests themselves, the Pharisees, the scribes, the high priests of corruption, turned on the Jesus Christ and maimed him, said he's a wrong man, confusing our policy. Does it occur to you in Kenya today that you have the same priests also turning? Instead of guiding us through the pandemic, they have turned on maiming, dismembering the state of the Republic of Kenya. Why do I say so? The editor's memo finds out that there is a correlation between the money that is pumped in on Sunday or in fundraising to the statements that are made by some of the church leaders. I am not condemning every church leader, every pastor, reverend, bishop, but there are those who actually come out openly to say things that hurt the state, that can dismember the state. I therefore want to tell you in my first point of submission that the state, the church has not been helpful as far as the state in Kenya is concerned. The church has accelerated the difficulties of the ordinary citizens. The mosque, on the other hand, and the Musa will tell us, they have been silent. They have been telling their people. They have been passing the message to their people. Wash your hands. Abide by the SOPs. Keep a distance. But when you find a defiant church, a church that tells you that what are we going to do tomorrow when businesses are closed? But when you ask the bishop, what shall we sell tomorrow when the people are dead? Can we ask Bishop Ambuka? Ambuka, I'm not fearing any controversy. Bring it on. Today, if we ask Ambuka, what will you sell economically to a country that is dead? Will there be goods? Will there be production? What is more important today? To have the fundraising at the pulpit where Uhuru Kenyatta is being besmirched, belittled, and the bishops clap their hands, laugh with the loudest mouth, plus the guests of honor with white teeth, engaging himself in the openness of white teeth only. Besmirching Uhuru Kenyatta. That's the church we are looking for. Is it the church that we want in Kenya? When a bishop cannot stop bad manners being heaped on a head of state, who equally the Bible said, give to Caesars what is for Caesars. Give me what is mine. Today, I become a priest. Today, I read the divinity. Challenge me, some of you who pretend to be Christians. Challenge me, which verse, which divinity have you read? What do you really know? Challenge me, bring it on. When Jesus said, give to Caesar what is for Caesar, you pay to the state what is for the state. You don't mix the state with the Christianity. The separation of powers, therefore, were hinged on a doctrine of a religious connotation of either any religion, either Muslim, Buddhist, Hinduism. There are so many ways of going to the kingdom of God. Who told you you should go through Bishop Ambuka's church? Who? Have you been told that it's only Bishop Ambuka's church that a human being should go through up to kingdom of God? No. There are so many outlets. As long as you believe in Christian faith or Muslim faith, you believe in God, one God, on the God that we all serve. Some of us from the editor's memo, we have been there for more than 55 years. I've been going to church. My church has been in Kenya, is All Saints Church. That's the Anglican church. I have a problem with churches that play guitar and the men and the women swing their waists. Their waists on the podium or on the stage, as if we are supposed to look at a dancing hall than going to pray to Jesus Christ or to God. I have a problem. So if you don't have it, go ahead. What will you do? I also believe in God like you do. But I have a problem with those type of churches. Not that I hate them, but I have a problem. Where guitars, where music from DRC has been imported into our churches all over Africa, that everything must have musical to dance, even to the extent of recording melodramatically, that a bishop, a pastor, is wriggling her waist in front of the parish or parishioners or the congregation. Is this the church that our children should emulate? What else can you tell me? That music has taken over churches. Artists are making money out of the churches. Yes, it is very good to sing godly songs. But are you good to sing godly songs to the people who are hungry when you are meeting the coins? That is a question I leave to the panel. You are meeting coins, but the people that you are singing who should actually be on your panel or in your congregation are going home, Miriam, hungry. How many of these churches prepare tea after the service for their congregation? For the poor, the ones who cannot manage. A quick look at all the churches around Kenya, Nairobi especially. Out of 10 churches, you find only 2 churches that share the little food that they have with the congregation that has come to the church when they are very hungry. Coming back, the editor's memo, therefore, Miriam, what should the church do in a situation of COVID-19? Today, we face the pandemic. It is not Uhuru Kenyatta who brought it. Neither did Uhuru Kenyatta call for the pandemic to come. Uhuru Kenyatta is a human being. Several presidents on this African continent have been condemned, Miriam, for nothing. They did not call for this disease to come. If you look at the Bible, the disease started in China, but it went and concentrated in Italy. But there is an island in Italy, in the Mediterranean Sea. And those who are Bible readers can go back to that island, where all the bodies and the bodies of people were killed by this type of disease. Was Africa, was the church, how much has the church done to make sure that there are good changes that are received by the congregation? Does the church stand for us or for them? How many churches fly helicopters when the natives who come to their churches have no helicopter, have no food? How many churches have built apartments charging expensively? The same congregation, they tell every day to abide and be humble and to God. How many churches have television stations that are commercial, that are doing commercial business in the television stations? Not only in Kenya, in Uganda is a habit. It's not even a habit anymore. The biggest churches in Uganda own chunks of land, chunks of properties. Have we turned religion into commercialized entity? That's the question for my panel. My panel will answer. Are we commercializing religion? Do we have morals? Are morality eroded? Is it gone? When a bishop leaves a nightclub at the same time like you do, what morality is there, Miriam, and the panel? And he comes at 8 o'clock to preach to you, don't drink and drive. Is there morality? When you go to any nightclub in town before COVID, you'll find most of the men in clothes engaging themselves in activities of purchasing alcohol in those clubs. And then they come to church and tell you, hello, don't try it. I'd rather live with the Catholic Church where their pastors drink. They don't tell you they don't drink, but they don't go and disturb people. Yes, is the church helping the state? The answer is no. The church is strangulating. The church is one of the instruments of regime change. In my final conclusion, regime change tactics have been brought, slowly strangulating Kenya. One time the church is saying, and I want to thank Bishop Olasapiti of my church for standing for me, for standing for us, the Anglican Church. I want also to thank the Catholic Church for saying, yes, go ye and take vaccination. It is good to save humanity than to kill humanity and then you serve none. It is good to save human beings than to save the economy, which the Bishop Ambuka is talking about. everywhere in London, as I conclude, shops have closed, big factories have closed, bars have closed, nightclubs have closed, hotels have closed, supermarkets have closed. Who are you in Kenya, a third world country struggling, where places have no water? You want to edge yourself to argue with the state and tell the state, please, don't close, don't lock down. Who are you, Bishop Ambuka, who cannot give even a fifth of your property to the poor to come to your house every morning to get the food before they go to the streets? In Britain, a country that gave us this English, this salvation, is locked down. People are not querying Prime Minister Johnson. People are not querying the Queen. Nobody is teaching the Queen. Where did we get this stupid umbilical and evangelical churches from America, where they go to do commercial businesses, bring money in Africa, confuse the people with the Bible, and teach us to regime change governments? Yes. Yes. If we don't speak now, who will speak? The church has spoken. Bishop Ambuka has spoken. Yes, his message could be true. It's a good message, Miriam. I'm not saying it's bad. It's a good message, but the message must be a message delivered through the proper channel for good health. But because your fundraising is cancelled, because your man is not coming to your fundraising, because the puppet, the guy who is used by George Soros and a group, because the type of senators who are used by George Soros, like Orengo, half ODM, half senator, half George Soros, have a problem with Uhuru Kenyatta. You bring this motion to the people of Kenya at this hour. You want to dismantle BBI? You want to stall BBI? You are saying BBI should have money used for BBI? Okay. Then what next? What can you do which you did in 2008? What can you defeat? Nothing. You will still remain a loser. We are killing, we are doing one big road to Jerusalem. This is a road of betrayal. But Jesus did not keep quiet to speak out against the chief priests. To speak up. I'm not Jesus, but I've read the divinity. Neither would I compare myself to God. Yes, we respect them as men of God, but we also read the Bible. I've read the Bible. I have had the Bible for 43 years. And it will be shown to you here. It looks 43 years. I've been reading it. It is becoming, the skin is paling. Spell. It is rubbing off. Because every time I go everywhere, in my car, in my sleep, I look at it. I look at the verses. I look at the verses that can guide me. But I don't find the verses that you say, attack the president to bring this order. Then you are a hero of the church. No. Advise the government on what they should do in interface for the president to reach a decision to lock down these counties. He asked the interfaith community that are part of his team. Miriam, I submit that today the relationship between the church and the state is like a distance between Mars and the Earth. The earlier we change that, the better. And the last word is, this is only happening in evangelical churches of America that go to America to hip themselves with PhDs and return here as bishops. Why is the Muslim community not raising a lot of hell? Because Muslims are teaching the thing of tolerance, helping each other, giving food to the needy. How many churches have opened their doors to give masks to the needy today? Show me walking down and see how many churches have said, come to the church even on Wednesday and collect your mask. How many? How many? You will not be shocked if you find the priest with the helicopters is the one supplying the masks at Kemsa. Or he has given one of the people in the congregation to supply masks on his behalf. You saw one woman coming out of the parliamentary committee, said he woke up in a miracle prayer before, and he had 424 million shillings on account. You saw there are so many things that have happened in Kenya that we need to change. Not only in Kenya, in my own country, Uganda, I submit, the churches have become commercial. They have commercialized religion. They have socialized, they are socialites. The priests, pastors quarrel on television station. They accuse each other of, is it polygamy and monogamy and this, and they marry. There is quite a lot of things that have changed in the churches compared to the churches I went through and I grew in 1950s. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Samuel Tawish. Okay, Tawish is not there. Then I'll go to Dr. Joseph Nyanchama. Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you, Miriam. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Terry.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
You know, you are getting me?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was looking at the clip which Dr. David is referring to this morning. I found that it had attracted 94,000 viewers. What I do not know, the intention of that person, could it be Daktari, he wanted to create some money through YouTube? I don't know. But I want to say this. You can read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation and still wear a spiritual diapers. This man, whoever spoke, the way he spoke to the president wasn't respectful. First of all, the way I understand, I am also a Christian, in fact, an elder myself. You do not show fear before the people you lead. How can you stand in a podium before your followers? Show them fear. Remember David Moses, when he reached at the Red Sea, you know, the fellows were following him, the soldiers, and the people panicked. What did Moses do? He told them, my people, calm down. Do not panic. Come evening, none of those Pharaoh soldiers would be alive. Do you know that he had no idea? He rushed to the next bush and cried before God, I have told them. that we are going to cross. What can I do now? Then he told him, God told him, what is in your hand? Go for it. You know why he cried in the bush, not in the presence of his followers? You do not show fear before the people you lead. First mistake for this pastor. How do you cry before the people you are supposed to offer protection, both physically and spiritual? I am surprised. I hope this man is listening to Punch Africa TV, the only place where you will hear the truth. I was disturbed, Daktari, to say the least. It was only that it concurred that you were equally disturbed. And I believe my fellow panelists, if they have watched the clip, they are equally disturbed. A leader is to participate, to build a nation. In fact, there is this leader I love because I've read the biography. The former Prime Minister of Malaysia, his name is Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. Do you know he used to gather his people together, including spiritual leaders? And they used to have a program he used to call, whether it is in the Malay language, he used to call it Kemu Bina Nagara. In English means nation building. And if you ever attended the session of Kemu Bima Nagara, nation building session, you must carry a raw egg. A raw egg. And they will send you to bring it. That was your ticket to the meeting. And
Okay, we seem to be having a problem there with the reception of Dr.
they used to tell them,
Doc, we're having a problem with the reception. Could you just... Doc, we're having a problem with the reception. Could you just fix that when you're able to...
Prime Minister himself. This nation, are you not getting it?
Yeah, we're having a problem with the reception.
Are you?
Yeah, just...
There's a problem, yeah. You can speak without the video.
Yeah, just take care of it, and then when you're able to, I will come back to you. I'll just move on to Samuel Tawish. I don't know if he's there.
Very well, thank you so much, Miriam, and of course the rest of the panelists, wherever you are tuned in from, and of course the audience who are watching us this morning. I think this discussion will not have come at a better time. Dr. Masanga and the rest of the panelists, you will agree that indeed our leaders, our church leaders have lost that moral decadency that we actually would have envied from what they should have been. Because again, at a time when the country and the entire world is grappling with this pandemic and its effect, we expected the church to come out as part of a solution, to come out solidly and be behind the leadership of this country, particularly President Uhuru Kenyatta, in making the decision that he made. And I think that decision was solidly made for the interest, for the good interest of this, of the people of Kenya, and is not anchored on anything, any other thing. But again, when you have a section of the church who are supposed to come out and lead by example, and even give reason to the president's decision, they are the same people who are disparaging and rebuking the president's directive and the president's actually actions as regards to how we can contain this pandemic. Like Dr. Masanga did put it, it is not possible for us, much as we will want to say balance between the lives and livelihood. You know, with livelihood, it is something that we can recover at the end of the day. But when it comes to lives lost can never be recovered. So I think President Uhuru Kenyatta making this decision was actually in that interest that we can have another time, we can have another chance to rebuild our economy, we can have another chance to do business, we can have another chance to actually go back and see how we can redeem our livelihoods. But for people like how Dr. Masanga has put it, people whose interest is only about amassing wealth, people whose interest is only about getting tithes and getting this money from congregation, they do not care about their lives, about their safety, about their health. And I think for President Uhuru Kenyatta and the task force that is handling the COVID-19 here in Kenya, did make a very good decision by actually giving that partial lockdown in some of those counties. For example, in Nairobi, where I'm speaking from. Because again, when you look at the numbers, what else would a leader do if you are to put yourself in the shoes of President Uhuru Kenyatta, for example? You know, sometimes you don't just need to condemn these leaders. You also need to ask yourself, how about if it were me? What decision would I have made? When these people are coming out and condemning and rebuking the president, are they giving solutions? Are they giving alternatives to what the president has done? See, for example, what happened in Tanzania or what continues to happen in Tanzania. I mean, when the leadership of that country failed to give, for example, to direct people to wear masks, to direct people to observe social distancing or washing of hands, or people even to give even the curfews and lockdowns. I mean, they received the equal condemnation from different quarters. So you having President Uhuru Kenyatta just across Tanzania here, across Kenya here, and making such kind of decision ostensibly to try and save lives. And we have people who are coming out and again condemning the president. So I'm not quite surprised because that is humanity for you. You'll do these things hoping that maybe they're going to support you or maybe they're going to take it positively. But again, you have individuals who come out and oppose and give all manner of criticism to this. So we should not even be surprised at all. Those are people, those are humans that we are living with. They are bound to do such kind of things, maybe by design or by default. I do not quite understand. But again, we have gotten used to living with such kind of individuals or such kind of elements in our society. People who do not appreciate any kind of move, any kind of gesture that you make or a leader makes in this country. I remember last time, the just late former president in Tanzania, when he was speaking about the kind of humanity that you have. He was speaking about development, decisions that he makes as a president or as a leader in Tanzania. He was speaking about that in Tanzania, you can even, in the world rather, humanity, you can even make a road that someone is actually driving through that very road, and still they find a reason to criticize you. You can even help someone to cross over the river, and still those people find reason to criticize you once they have crossed over to the other side of the river. So it's not abnormal for me to see such kind of bishops coming out and speaking like that, because again, like Dr. Masanga said, will he have any congregation? Will he have any people to preach to when they have all lost their lives? I mean, what interest, if it's at all about balancing interest between livelihood and lives? You know, for livelihood, we can go back and try to rebuild our economy later on. But the first priority here is, how can we save lives? I mean, anything else can actually wait. Anything else can be paused as long as it is at the expense of ensuring that we save our lives, the lives of our people, so that tomorrow when everything returns to normalcy, then we can think about how can people go back to their jobs? How can we go back to our churches to preach and worship openly and freely without all these restrictions? How can people go to social places without any restrictions? In any case, what kind of testimony will this bishop or any of his kind will need to actually understand that this pandemic is actually devastating and is become a very big killer in our society today? I mean, we have lost individuals, we have lost personnel in the media industry, we have lost people within the church, bishops themselves, pastors have been lost, we have lost politicians. So I do not understand where this person is coming from, where this bishop is coming from, as though he does not live on this planet Earth, that he doesn't quite see what is happening today in the world. He does not see this pandemic as a threat to the people he wants to congregate and preach to. So it is a height of hypocrisy and people who are just but selfish, people who are just but thinking about their stomachs and how they are going to enrich themselves through the congregation, through their followers, not actually putting into priority the lives of these individuals. So I laud President Uhuru Kenyatta for that decision because, again, it is about saving the lives of the people. It's about making sure that we can have another chance to rebuild our economy. But once we lose lives, we will not actually be able to recover those lives. Miriam, I submit.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Musa.
Thank you, Miriam. Just to make my humble submission here. Miriam, when you speak about religion, you speak about hope. You speak about giving people a leap of life, Miriam. And as Africans, Miriam, before Christianity and Islam came, we had our own traditional religion, Miriam. And those are some of the underpinning culture and values we've inherited, Miriam. Even when the colonialists came and they were gone, and even when the Arabs who are doing trade at the east coast of Africa, Miriam, came with religion and gone. Circumcision was our stuff. Polygamy was an African culture. Miriam, even beating of drums. When the Catholic Church could not allow beating of drums and dancing in African culture, Africans had to come up with their own churches, Miriam. And that's why we saw the likes of Africa Inland Church and other, community churches coming up. Where we got all this wrong, Miriam, is when you mix capitalism, commercialization with church. Miriam, church is a place where people who are dejected in the society, people are broken in the society, they go and seek refuge to God. What will you tell me when I will go to Winners Chapel International in South B and I'm told for you to enter the church, you must pay 10,000 Kenya shillings via the pay bill? Are you giving me the leap of life or are you destroying me? Miriam, it happens across all walks of life. We might blame evangelicals for this, but we should not be blaming the likes of Billy Graham for this. If there is a guy who was my mentor in the world of churches, Miriam, was that fellow called Billy Graham. He really moved masses. Even there was a time Queen Elizabeth had to meet him because he was using simple words, Miriam, not to complicate things. Church, religion, and politics are different things. But unfortunately for my Christian brothers in Kenya, I will not blame even the church leaders in this. I blame the followers in this, Miriam. Why do you have to tolerate a politician coming? The church leader is preaching about virtues of integrity and earning your dues through your sweat, and then someone is giving you money, Miriam. It has happened with William Ruto. It has happened with a good number of leaders we have in this country. A general number of leaders, Miriam. And now you are preaching about corruption, and the very followers in the church, Miriam, are the ones who are perpetrators of corruption. Remember when Edwin Sifuna came to Coast, Miriam, at the burial of Suleiman Dori? He thought maybe, it's a culture that you can speak in, maybe, Islamic burial. We never had sheikhs there. We never had clerics there. The people took away the microphone and told him, respect the dead, shut up, and if you are not going to speak about anything, you better go and disappear from this place. People should be taking the initiative of managing these worshiping places because the church leaders and clerics are all gone, Miriam. We are living in a society whereby the success of the church is determined by how much connection they have to politicians and how much of relationship they have with, leaders who are in the government. Unfortunately, that is the reason why Paul Kagame had to close informal church, Miriam, in Rwanda. And so coming to this point, and I submit, Miriam, the very nemesis that we should be teaching and, adding values to even not only this generation, and to the future generation, Miriam. Church should not be a place to campaign. Church should never have the role of speaking or commenting about national issues, Miriam. We have Vatican in Italy, Rome, but have you heard Pope Francis, Miriam, speaking about anything to do with Italian fascist, right-wing, or left leaders? No, Miriam. We know the issue of Middle East, the Palestinian, the Jewish question, the issue of two-state solution. You've never heard Pope Benedict. You've never heard the Anglican Church You've never heard Pope Francis speaking about that. Because religion and politics, Miriam, if you really want to destroy society, mix religion and politics and you shall get a very good product, Miriam. But what do we have in this context of African churches? We have churches not a place of seeking refuge and salvation, but rather, Miriam, a place of seeking popularity, prestige, pomposity, Miriam, and all sort of property gaining. We've seen, Miriam, for the first time, churches are a place of a showdown. And I'm not speaking, I love my Christian brothers. Up to now, the mentor I have is called Father Francis. When I schooled in Nairobi, Miriam, and he told me one thing, and I quote, he said, "Dear students, do not follow teachings of the churches, follow teachings of Jesus. It doesn't matter where you are going. It doesn't matter what you are going through. As long as you are following teachings of Jesus, then you are on the right path." So Miriam, just to submit, we are having a problem. And I know even as Muslims, Miriam, we are having some erratic leaders like Eden Duale. We're having some erratic leaders like Junet Mohammed, someone who can stand up in public and insult a man, insult a person, and yet you are a Muslim. People are putting aside religion when it comes to showing their principles and values, Miriam, and they are using religion when it is all about their interest. Gone are the days of Reverend Timothy Njoya, gone are the days of Bishop Korir, gone are the days of Cardinal John Njue, Miriam, the kind of people we have. When Njue could speak in the past, Miriam, and I've watched his videos, this was a person who was full of conscience, Miriam. Where are the current Cardinal Otunga we are having? None of them are existent, Miriam. People are now being led by greedy, people are being led. Why do you have to put or to make a comment, Miriam, like that pastor who has done or that church leader who has done yesterday? Simply because you want to earn views so that you be controversial like the likes of Pastor Nganga and others. Why do you have to be this way? Even in Muslim, we have radical extremists. You remember the case of Abu Drogo, Miriam, who was making radicalization among the youths to join Al-Shabaab. These are the challenges we are having, Miriam, left, right, and center. But I beseech the leaders to differentiate between religion and politics, Miriam, because religion is a place where it can accommodate the poor and the rich, the have and the have-nots, Miriam. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. Douglas Kirimi, what's your opinion on the church and the state in governance? Javen.
Miriam, thank you for the opportunity. And indeed, we are having a very good conversation. And I will go with the words of Dr. Masanga, Dr. Joseph, and Samuel Tawich, and Musa, because we really lead from the same script when it comes to matter of the modern church. Miriam, I don't see why a church leader would be vocal when it comes to the containment measures to curb the spread of COVID-19. I don't know whether they want to attend a church service in the morning and attend a burial of 10 of their congregation who have died because of this COVID-19. Some of these church leaders, Miriam, they have not put the right measures to ensure that they curb the spread of COVID-19. They disregard the government protocols. They are indisciplined, Miriam, and they want us to believe that what they are saying, they are reflecting the will of their congregation. They are amplifying the voices of their congregation. This is not true. Because, Miriam, the pastor in question, I have followed him on social media, and I have come to conclusion that he is more of a deputy president supporter. He is more of a UDA supporter. And he has made a post when deputy president was in Gatanga, and he said that the deputy president is a one-man army who can bring all Gatanga town into a standstill. And Miriam, you remember that time we had the rising number of COVID-19. Therefore, Miriam, we have a problem. Our church leaders, they are political sympathizers, and they show political alignment. They support some political outfits. That is why our church today, when you go to church today, the politicians, they take the bread of Jesus before everybody else. When you go to church today, our politicians are given the best seats at the front. well, the congregation are pushed outside to wait for their politicians out there. You know, Miriam, these days when you go to church, you are given roles according to how big your pockets are. Therefore, we have put more premium on the power of money rather than the teachings of the Bible. Miriam, today is so unfortunate that when you go to church, some churches today, they are not getting enough from the money they are making from the tithes and offerings. Now, every church, Miriam, you go, they have opened some small kindergarten schools. They have opened some small schools around to earn on their profits. And when you go to these schools, Miriam, most of them, they employ unqualified staffs. They teach things that, they bring unskilled kids in the name of making profits, Miriam. Therefore, the church is in the run of making profits. And when you open a church these days, it's all about making money. It's not about the nourishing of the spiritual being. That is so unfortunate, and we need as a people. And I have a problem, Miriam, with the congregation that goes to this church. I saw the other day somebody carrying the pastor on their backs in the name of salvation, in the name of attracting blessings from heaven. I see the pastors beating them hard, punching them in the name of revoking demons. Miriam, there are a lot of dramas in these churches, and I think the congregation is somehow dumb, is somehow silent. They don't speak up, Miriam, because when a pastor brings to some extent quoting some verses that don't exist in the Bible, and we are there clapping in the name of prosperity gospel, Miriam, we are ruining we are ruining the generations to come. Because now nobody, even these pastors, they drink openly. And there's a pastor who says that don't follow what I do, just follow what I teach, because when you follow what I do, you will fall. You'll end in the wrong path. Therefore, it is high time, Miriam, we differentiate, and our church leaders to come up as people who can give moral guidance, not just people who are there to make some profits. Look at the discrimination in our church. You see, these days, Miriam, our church, the modern pastors, they go around with bodyguards, chase cars, escorts, while their congregants are suffering. They have no school fees for their kids, but the amount of money that they're asking for tithes and some small ceremonies that we have in our churches called Thanksgiving or pastors' gifts and so on is quite exorbitant, Miriam. There are some churches, Miriam, if you want to join, you register with 50,000 so that you can be a member of these churches. And Miriam, I remember one day when President, I don't know whether it was a registration that a member of parliament was trying to bring up, that churches to be paying taxes. Miriam, you see the outcry that came from our clergy. They don't want to pay taxes, and when the government asks them maybe to meet some qualification, some education qualification, so that you open a church, they are saying that opening a church is a calling from heaven, and there should be no regulations in terms of education or other basics or requirements to open a church. Therefore, there are a lot of hypocrisy, Miriam, in our modern day church. And I think this is the reason why, Miriam, the morality, the society have decayed completely because of the bad image that is coming from our men of cloth. It's high time that they change the narrative, and it's high time that they walk the talk of Jesus Christ, Miriam. If we Christians, Miriam, because majority of the panel are Christians, if we emulate and we walk the footstep of Jesus Christ, Miriam, we will achieve a lot. Jesus was teaching love, sharing of what we have, being our brother's keepers, and loving our neighbors as we love ourselves. That, Miriam, is not taught in our modern church. What they talk is you'll be blessed if you ponder this begu, if you do this, Miriam. It's high time that the church has lost its meaning, and Miriam, a sick church, Miriam, can't pretend to heal a sick nation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Douglas, I don't know if he's there. All right, so Douglas has not been able to join.
Yes, Miriam.
All right, go ahead. The church and the state of governance. What's your opinion?
Miriam, what is happening today in our country is very
Mm-hmm. Okay, we seem to be having a problem with the reception there. Can you hear me, Douglas? Okay, so Douglas is having a problem with his reception today, so we will excuse him. Once he's able to fix it, then he will come to us. And I think Dr. Joseph was talking earlier, and he had a bit of a challenge with his reception too. Dr. Ari, I don't know if you can hear us before I take us back to Dr. Matanga. You are not able to complete your thought. Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I can hear you.
All right, go ahead.
You can hear me?
Good.
You can hear me too?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I was actually trying to get a small narrative before I could comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I was giving an example of the former Prime Minister of Malaysia, who was always teaching brotherhood, peace, and togetherness. He had a program called Kem Bina Nagara, meaning it's a Malay meaning building the nation. In building the nation, he incorporated including spiritual leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, what was interesting is if you attend, you must carry a role to carry, you cannot enter after the end of the session. The Prime Minister personally, and they used to tell them, you live in a multiracial and multi-ethnic society, and this nation is like the egg. If you handle it carelessly, it will break and you will never get it back. You can imagine Miriam where a spiritual leader telling a head of state, either the judge can be your ally or your enemy. I was shocked. That tells you this man could not, let us not even talk about the church. Was he representing the church or a spiritual enterprise? Because we may dig deep into church, but only to find this was just an individual hiding under the umbrella of church to spoil the good name of churches. But having said that, generally, some people purporting to be pastors have misinterpreted the Bible and have even misled, especially young people are supposed to live their full potential. Miriam, do you know a verse in the Bible that says that it is difficult for the rich to go to heaven? So difficult, like a camel passing through the hole of a needle. Miriam, have you ever heard that? If you are a Christian?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've heard that.
And you know the congregation believe. So, meaning some of the pastors are massaging poverty. I usually counter by telling people, it is difficult, yes, but the Bible does not say it is impossible. Isn't it difficult to give birth to a child? But we are 47 million Kenyans given birth by mothers, but it's difficult. And you know, they have used the Bible to mislead the congregation. The way I understand the structure, interfaith is part of the stakeholders who advised the president. Even before the president made their pronouncement, there was an input from the interfaith, a voice from which they also give their opinion. Was this pastor part of it? Or is just a hawk pastor who is wearing spiritual diapers? Because these words are offensive, and I want to believe the mainstream churches are not part of his sentiments. As churches, you are the last line to give hope to the people. whether you feel pain, whether you think your congregation are feeling pain, comfort them. Do you know Jesus Christ, when he was in the cross, he was nailed, but he persevered. But in the end, he said what? It is finished. He never said, I am finished. I know my panelists, the English, here, the definition is different. There's a difference between I am finished and it is finished. He said, what I came for is over. And you know what came after? After the pain came the pearl. And I want to tell this pastor, after this pain of pandemic, is going to be joy. And after the thorns came the throne. And after the cross came the crown. Those are the kind of hope narratives the spiritual leaders should be giving the congregation. Because, as Samuel said, Musa and Douglas, whom I concur with 100%, we have some pastors who are not teaching the correct message from the Bible, misinterpreting it. As also some other legal experts using, there are three ways I said of interpreting a statute: the literal rule, the mischief, and of course the legal aspect. It's the same thing to the church. One thing I want to conclude with and say, let us also sometimes read too much from an individual to be a full representative of the churches. But the few elements must be smoked out and condemned, because it's a hope place for the desperate ones. And it is critical that we recognize this way and condemn those who go astray. I submit, Millie.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Nyachama. Dr. David Matanga, I don't know if you're there. Okay, so Doctor seems to have he will join us perhaps before we conclude the show. So a couple of things have come out, and I think one of the greatest issues in Africa today and the world over, on which there is so much confusion, concerns the relationship that exists between the church, religion, and sometimes politics. And we've seen there's an article here that was on Monday, the 22nd of March, I think over a week ago, that the Standard newspaper did on page 6. And as I watched the video of that pastor yesterday, because it was trending here in the country, and he brought up a couple of issues that I thought were quite interesting, and of course blaming the political class for the spread of COVID-19. And this article on the Standard newspaper was titled "Church Leaders: A Dilemma Over a Ready-Made Crowd." And here the article outlines how also the church has had a role in the spread of COVID-19, because a lot of churches, especially the evangelical churches, have been a very fertile ground for these politicians to come and do their campaigns, because they have the ready crowd. They're waiting for them to come and address. So as much as I felt like he was blaming, and I think a lot of things that he said there for me made a lot of sense, I think, but also he failed to take, I think, ownership or responsibility in the role that also the church has had in the spread of COVID-19, especially the evangelical churches that have been quite open to these politicians, and we've not seen social distancing being observed. They've created, and what we've seen happening there. So as much as the pastor and his points were, to me, a good number of them were valid. But also, did he fail to take responsibility on the role also that the church has played in the spread of COVID-19 at this point? Samuel Tawish.
Miriam, I think our leadership, our church leadership, should take rather the leading role, because at a moment like this, and in a crisis that the nation and the people find themselves, we need to find solace more so in the church. We need to find guidance and preachings of hope that gives us another reason to believe that all is going to be well. But here you are having a church or a leadership in the church that does not provide any guidance, a leadership that does not give a hope, but only does criticism to the leadership of the country. Because again, when you're faced with calamities, when you're faced with challenges, when you're faced with upheavals in life, the last place, the last sort of finding a solution or solace will be the church. Even when you're encountering problems, say, for example, for those of us who are married, you're finding a problem in your marriage life, you're finding a problem maybe in your business or any other thing. When you're finding a problem, maybe even with your health, the place where you need to run to and seek guidance and seek solace will be the church. The person you'll want to fellowship with to provide you with guidance and hope when you've lost hope completely will be the church. But here you're having a church which does not speak the same voice, which does not actually anchor or magnify that which the leadership of the country is doing or is saying. It is very unfortunate that we are having such kind of people who are masquerading as the shepherds of the people. But in real sense, now it's coming out openly and clearly that these people are only but interested in amassing wealth and making money out of these church events or actually this congregation. Because again, when you look into the anger that maybe, for example, this bishop is venting to President Uhuru Kenyatta, it has really nothing to do with President Kenyatta not taking seriously or putting measures that will otherwise help this country to maintain or try to manage the COVID-19 pandemic. But it's more of a person who feels like an opportunity has been lost for them to continually get a few coins here and there. An opportunity has been lost for politicians to actually throng into their churches for them to get this money. I think that is where this anger is coming from. It has nothing to do with President Uhuru Kenyatta not actually giving a clear roadmap on how a people or this nation is going to deal with this pandemic. This pandemic is very mysterious. It's a pandemic for once that we cannot understand how it exists, where it is. And I think out of advice President Uhuru Kenyatta feels, maybe this will be the only way out for us to try and contain this pandemic. He tried it last year, and it did actually bring wonders. We could see that the spread of this pandemic was actually reduced or contained to a certain level. But again, when we relaxed all these measures, when we relaxed all these restrictions, we saw again us going back to the similar trend and even making it worse.
Tawish, and the part that I was able to watch, I was not able to watch the whole of that video, but the part that I was able to watch, you said, the containment measures and that the government had put in place had worked very well. And then after they were relaxed and we saw all those crowds in all these meetings and all that, even in the church, we saw that happen. So he's saying, so now what?
Well, I think, Miriam, the point I'm trying to submit here is it is everyone's responsibility to ensure that we play our individual role to see into it how we can contain this pandemic. Because again, where I am, for example, I'm in my residential place. I'm in my house. For example, if I go out and I don't put on a mask, if I go out and I interact with the people without actually observing those restrictions that the Ministry of Health has given or President Kenyatta has given out, if I don't sanitize, for example, how can President Uhuru Kenyatta help me as an individual where I am? And assuming that each of us does the same thing the way I'm talking about, then we will be having a chain of, this disease spreading out to several people and to several groups and eventually to the entire country. So the problem here is not about President Uhuru Kenyatta. The problem here is not about the leadership of President Uhuru Kenyatta. The problem actually starts with us. It starts with me. What is it I'm doing to deal with this pandemic? What is it I'm doing at an individual level, at an individual capacity? Because again, when we do our very bit eventually everyone doing their very own bit, together we get to understand that we actually be making a success in as far as the fight against this pandemic is concerned. So what I'm trying to say in essence, Miriam and the panelists, is that it is not about President Uhuru Kenyatta, and the pastor should not, the bishop should not blame the president for example, relaxing the other time, relaxing the restrictions. But again, much as the president relaxed the restriction, what is it that the church could do? Have they come out and actually given us an alternative and said, maybe this is the way out, or this is what I'm doing from my church, this is what I'm doing to help President Uhuru Kenyatta, or to help the congregation, or to help the country actually fight this pandemic. Right. So I think the bottom line is the church leaders should not should not come out as fence sitters. They should not be like spectators. They are part and parcel of our society. They should do their bit, and together we will win the war against this pandemic.
Right. So what I hear for you to be saying is that instead of just sitting there and criticizing, and of course I felt like he failed to take responsibility on his part as a church and the role that they've played in the spread of COVID-19, but also offer solutions and options as much as you criticize, but also say perhaps if we took this route, maybe we will find a solution that will work for all Kenyans. There, Doctor, I see you back. Go ahead.
Miriam, as we come to our conclusion, Miriam, Emperor Nero, earlier on I talked about the Bible that I've read for, this is the one. I have had it for 44 years now, this one. I always read it, I always cherish it, I always respect God. So I wanted to bring it to the public for them to see how it has become very old, but still I don't want to put a cover on it, but still continue reading it. But let me take you back to Emperor Nero. Dr. Joseph will agree with me. Emperor Nero was one of the worst emperors that the Roman Empire would get, or got at that time. Emperor Nero was handed over the emperorship by a foster father. The mother of Emperor Nero was married by the foster father, the father who fostered Emperor Nero. After the death of the father, the Emperor Nero took over the reins with the mother. The mother continued to give Emperor Nero guidance. And I want to reflect all of you to study Emperor Nero. Those who are academics, like all of you on the panel. The father, the emperor started very well. And then the mother and the other people started telling the emperor, there are people who are Christians. They are changing lots of things. When they pray and then you go back to your house, you feel salvation. You feel some salvation. A salvation has arrived in your heart. How many of you, when you go for Easter, like now we are going for Easter, you leave the church, you run for that food, the food you eat, those days, however poor the food is, because the pastor has given you a sermon that has ignited you according to the chapter, St. Luke, or Matthew, or Revelations, or Acts, or what. I think this is how I grew up. And I want to be happy. Look at me, bubbly. Because I grew up, you can insult me. You can undermine me. But there is one thing I always do. I put my hand here, and you will perish very badly. Yourself, you find yourself in problems. And I want to tell you the truth. That has happened to so many of my enemies. Because I trust in this. I have had it. I always go back and open up this chapter and say, for example, now, I want to teach you how to open up this chapter. The Bible and read. Guess what I have opened? Just now, abruptly. It says the songs of songs. I opened abruptly. But let me read the verse. Beloved, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. For your love is more delightful than the wine. Pleasing is the fragrance of your perfumes. Pleasing is the fragrance of your perfumes. Your name is like a perfume poured out. No wonder the mountainous, the mountainous love you take. No wonder the mountainous love take me away with you. Let us hurry. Let the king bring into the chambers. We rejoice and delight. Let the king bring into the chambers. Let Uhuru bring in the resolutions. It is not what Ambuka is telling us. Read the Songs chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. I opened this abruptly. Doesn't it reflect to you people today? Those who go to church, I am sorry, Professor Onyari is not here today. I would ask him so many questions. If this is not correct, I opened it and I want to teach you people every day before you go to sleep. Every day, whether Miriam or who or you go to your churches, I am not telling you to do what you should, but try to do what I do. Just get this Bible and open abruptly. The page that you land on, that is your day. That's your form. That's how you work. That's what is going to happen. There's nothing that the preacher, the bishop is telling us more than what we don't know. The preacher is even saying, Dr. William Ruto, he also dresses like a William Ruto with the colored suits. An upper yellow, everybody. You know, William Ruto has now a design of colored shirts and colored trousers, even red ones. Red ones are worn by women. But you see, colored, all those things, I can't wear a red trouser. It will be very bad for me in my culture.
Mungu,
you know,
ametupatia nafasi
na
ametuumba.
A man to find me on the street, Matanga, wearing a red trouser. Medium, don't greet me. Red trousers are for ladies. Garanja, don't ever do this. Please, red trousers are for ladies. They are not meant for us. It's not a fashion. That's why we go to school to study decor, internal decor, and another one, the fashion. There is a university degree honored in London for fashion and design. They will tell you that in fashion and design, a man cannot have a red shirt, a trouser. A man will have a red shirt. It's a core principle of design and fashion. But the bishop, why is angered with Uhuru Kenyatta? He's lost his ground. The Bible, and as I was telling you about Emperor Nero, things went on until the mother of Emperor Nero told Nero, you see the guys that are Christians, everybody in the villages likes them. But the ones that we call overseers, the ones that we are bringing to our palace to tell us whether the moon is up or the moon is down or something is going to happen, are not the real ones. Emperor Nero said, is it? Yes. Emperor Nero summoned all the Christians. He also converted into Christianity. Then came something that the Christians were telling, that there was a lot of drought, that every small fire that you touch on can cause Rome to burn down. So Emperor Nero told the Christians to go and pray for the drought to go away. But the Christians said, sir, this drought is coming because you are dealing in two ways. You have this medicine men, and you have another group. You don't believe. Whom do you believe in? You either believe in Christianity. The mother said, please believe in this group, not that group. Emperor Nero, in summary, turned on the mother and killed the mother. Then no sooner had he killed the mother than one day the fire started in Rome. The entire Rome was burnt down completely. You read the story of Emperor Nero. Mr. Ambuka is telling us, Kenyatta choose between the economic benefits of individuals than the safety and health status of individuals. I tell you, my brothers, you can be poor, but as long as you are healthy, you will go out of the streets and get someone who will give you 100 shillings and you buy wunga and come back. But if you cannot walk out of your house because the pandemic has caught you, because you are coughing, you are on oxygen, nobody can buy you even a kilo of, or half, even one piece of intestine from the market. You know the stripe and the intestine which is sold in the market, which I always go to eat. I eat those good things in the stripe of the cow. Nobody can give you. Therefore, look at the story of Emperor Nero. Look at the story of Ambuka. Look at the story of Kenyatta today. President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is salvaging a situation. The pandemic is real. Ambuka should encourage people to take medicine, to vaccinate, to allow his church goers to come and go and vaccinate in huge numbers. Given the time and the way things are happening, they might be discouraging even the people not to vaccinate. I'm telling you, I have taken my vaccination. I took it about 10 days ago. I took mine before President Kenyatta took his. 10 days, and I'm okay. I'm here. So if you don't take yours, it's up to you. But you are encouraged to take it. Don't listen to Ambuka. Don't cry for food when the food cannot be taken in the stomach. When that thing comes, you can't even eat. Did you know you can't eat the food even if it is planted in the hospital? Miriam, you can't eat. They will put pipes here for you to eat. That thing is very bad. That is what the bishops and the pastors should be preaching. To put faith, courage to the Christians. You are not giving Christians chance. You are giving them hopelessness. what the doctor talked about resourcefulness. You know, there is no resourcefulness in church anymore. Some churches have lost salt, and when salt becomes saltless, omunyo bwe gubeera nga tegulimu omunyo, gubeera tegulimu omunyo. I don't know how you talk about it, Dr. Joseph, in your language, and Karanja. When salt becomes saltless, is it salt anymore? When you find a priest on Friday struggling to buy and fit in a tie, a suit, to go and preach on Sunday, to change them, a suit costs 40,000 shillings. Some of these priests wear suits of about 100,000 bob. I swear I have done research on them. You go in the shops where they sell these suits, you find them with about 5 people crowding. The worst thing is that they don't buy for the people carrying who are with them. They buy their own suits to come on Sunday to preach, to look smart in a new fashion. But you are preaching to a person who has come from home in Uruma, in Umoja, in Kawangware, in Mathare, in Dagoretti Corner, who does not have even food on the table for 6 children. We have commercialized religion. The American type of religion where pastors own a fleet of planes. You know, many of them who have died the other side. Good preachers, orator, because God gave them the voice, is what is the religion we have in some of the churches here. People fight over land title. Have you ever seen a British church leader fighting over a church title? Have you? I want to tell you, no. The churches, the title in the United Kingdom of a church, the property of a church is the property of the church, acquired by the church, with the church, by the church. Haven't you seen pastors here fighting over land? Which church? This is my place. Why are you demolishing? Why? It's because they have acquired those land titles mysteriously. And when it is found, guess what? Don't they bribe, Miriam? Don't they bribe the land officers to leave their churches alone? So you come to tell us to be holy when you are not holy. Is it the right thing that people can take here? All people read the Bible. There are those chosen. Pope Francis kisses people's feet in order to get peace in South Sudan. Show me one of these bishops who can kiss people's feet to get Capedo Triangle back to peace. Miriam, tell me, can Bishop Ambuka go and kiss the warriors in Capedo Triangle? Call them in a meeting and say, hello, I kiss your feet and I want you to stop cattle rustling. How many would do that? How many in our lives? How many in Uganda would go and look, apart from Bishop Onen and Odama, who are ourselves, the Catholic Church and Anglican Church? Bishop Odama, Bishop Onen, Mamatanga, Rugunda, Ruakana Rugunda, and several of us, Nobati Mao, Owinyi Dolo, we stood up in Uganda and went to Garamba Park to look for Mr. Konyi, a killer who had killed people, over 1 million people. And we said, you have to sit down with us. Courageous bishops, Odama, courageous bishops, Onen, courageous Dr. Matanga, courageous Ruakana Rugunda, courageous Kisano, courageous Riakamacha, and others on my delegation. We did not fear, but tell me one of the bishops today of the church who would want to end the war of a simple cattle rustling in Capedo. If there is one, I'll give you another 1,000 shillings for a transfer it to your phone. If you have seen one advocating for such peace, then it must be a rare commodity. Most of them advocate for fundraising. Fundraising on Sunday. Churches have become a place. Today they are addressing to say open the churches, but open to invite Ruto to come and insult President Uhuru Kenyatta. Isn't it? Is there anything why they want these churches open? I like it, Bishop Olesapiti. I don't know whether you have seen his quote on the Daily Nation. I don't know. You better bring it on my production team. My Bishop Olesapiti said, you can close the 4 walls, but it doesn't mean you have closed the prayer. Agali abantu babiri oba basatu nga bali wamu nga basaba. Oba wansi w'omuti, wagulu w'omuti, watu wawili kama wako wanaomba, watu watatu kama wako pamoja, kama wanaomba tena wanaomba Mungu, Mungu atakubali. Mungu ajali unaomba kutoka upande gani, utaomba chini ya miti, chini ya maji, juu ya hewa, Mungu atakubali maombi yako. La, Kiswahili yangu inatukuka sana. Lakini ndio hiyo yangu ya Tanzania ya Msasani ya zamani. Lakini imeenda polepole, tarudi na Mama Suluhu amerudi kwa hapa sasa. Itakuwa sawa. Itakuwa sawa, tarudi huko. Tutajenga nchi, tunataka kujenga nchi zetu za Afrika. Nchi zetu zikuwe na amani. Nchi zetu zipate amani. Lakini kama unapata wanasiasa wanaingilia ile kanisa kuomba kutupa pesa ambayo wameiba kutoka kwa wananchi, tena wanasiasa gani? Nchi zitatembea namna gani? Nchi za Afrika zitakuwa namna gani? La, niambie nyenye watu wa Kenya, uniambie la. Kila siku tunakuwa na shida, kwa shida zote zinaleta na mavurugano. Mavurugano inatokea kwa watu wawili wanataka wana spread misinformation. Has that misinformation not been harmful to Kenya? Why are we spreading misinformation instead of directing quietly to the president on how you can change the system without calling upon people to rise against the state? I can submit here, and I want to thank Doctor. I was listening in the background what you say. And Douglas, I did not listen much. I was on and off on another international video link. I want to tell you that what is happening here, in a nutshell, Miriam and your panel, is a regime change. It's a regime change. People are going there. Even if you don't like, look at the comments. I wrote this morning at 5 a.m. I posted on my 5 a.m. page. I posted something to say all of us are sinners. Whoever is not a sinner can put up his hand. You cut the comments, the huge comments. Look at how the page is running like a hot springs of Marigat. With people insulting me, some supporting me, is a debate that needs to be done amongst the Kenyans. I stood. There is nobody who is not a sinner except God, that God will decide. I am not a judge. I am equally a sinner. I have not seen a bishop who when once he dies, strictly goes without the rituals. They do the same rituals that they do. Even the Pope, when he dies, they do the same rituals that they do to Matsanga or Joseph or Samuel or Miriam or Musa or Douglas or Javan. Therefore, time has come for the churches to respect the state. The state might have a lot of challenges. COVID-19 came with challenges. It is not only here. My people of Kenya, listen to me. In London, it is worse. The only thing that has helped London at the moment is 3/4 of their population has been vaccinated. I want to take upon and call upon the government to accelerate the vaccination exercise before this type of pastors and the bishops try to bring chaos amongst the population. Let the vaccination be rolled out. Let the government source for more vaccines. Let them vaccinate people. Because we don't know the third, the fourth, the fifth wave. We don't know which one is stronger. But protection to lessen the disease, destroying the people of the world is the essence of my contribution on this television. I therefore submit Miriam on time 5 minutes past 12. We have done our good 2 hours. And I believe, I don't know whether you want us to go ahead or we can make our submission and a summary. The editor's memo, therefore, sticks and says, yes, the man had a right to speak what he was because there's freedom of speech. But a clergy who has a higher platform to inform and encourage the congregation must weigh his words such that they don't harm and incite people against the state. The state must be, religion must be set aside, away from politics. And the preacher must be apolitical. A political preacher will save the nation of Kenya. Political preachers like Ambuka with vested interest to wear Turkish shoes every Friday and the Turkish suits so that they can convince their congregation on Sunday. Let the people of Kenya check. They might be having another agenda apart from the preaching I submit.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think that's where we end our show this afternoon. Thank you, Musa. Thank you, Dr. Joseph Nyanchama. Thank you, Samuel Tawish, Douglas Kirimi, and of course, Javan Karanja. I'll see you here at 3 p.m. with the Diaspora Dispatches, where we shall be looking at other news across the continent. Doctor, during my show yesterday, Dr. There were 2 stories there that maybe we should find time and discuss it at a later time. South Sudan leadership now is saying that they're not ready to have the elections next year. And in Djibouti is supposed to be going to its election in April, and Al-Shabaab is now warning French and Americans to leave Djibouti. Al-Shabaab from Somalia, so you wonder, and we know President of Djibouti is going for his 5th term. And so I don't know what is the problem there. I think there's more to that story. So perhaps in another discussion, when we're looking at other news.
Let's hammer it at 2. Oh, no, 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Can we?
3 o'clock, Miriam. Miriam, can I say something?
Oh, okay, go ahead, Dr. Dr.
Give me a minute. Because Dr. Masanga has inspired me. Dr. thank you very much. I'm humbled by your statement, but I wanted to tell all the judge leaders listening, following what Dr. Masanga said, this is Punch Africa, the TV where you hear the punching lines. You know, they must know that their responsibility. You know, I usually tell people that you are the answer. God knew for a question God knew could be asked in your generation. That is the kind of line we should teach our congregational instead of engaging ourselves in antagonizing matters of state. Remember, even Martin Luther Jr. was actually mentored by a spiritual leader. And let them know that is why he rose up and is being quoted up to this moment. In fact, if you can allow me, Miriam, just that second.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
You know, Martin Luther Jr. was mentored by a man called Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays. He was taken there by his father, and they gave him the true teachings. That is how he was able to dream, a dream being quoted and followed by thousands across the globe to date, even if he died at the age of 39. I remember when he joined at appeasing to people to embrace peace, he made statements out of the written script. And they said this one, which I want to end with. He said that, I have a dream. The future or today things may sound difficult. All the same, I have a dream that in the red hills of Georgia, the sons of the slaves and the sons of the slave owners shall sit at the table of brotherhood. More particularly, or more personally, I have a dream that my 4 little children will not be charged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream. You know why he said these words? He fell into the hands of true spiritual leaders. I hope the spiritual leaders are listening, Punch Africa, the TV where you hear these words, so that you change the narrative of thinking and take your rightful role. I submit, Miriam, I don't want to take much because I was inspired by Dr. I want to thank also my fellow panelists, Samuel, Douglas, and Musa. I hope if these things continue this way, I think the sky for Africa is going to be the lower limit. Thank you, Miriam. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for watching. I'll see you here at 3 p.m. Bye-bye for now.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.